What's up, guys? Welcome to our podcast.
She finally realized that it was all mental.
All right, guys. So we've got some breaking news today.
I did not have my therapy session. That was the breaking news.
Yeah,
from last week.
from last
Kidding.
episode.
What was the breaking news, Peyton?
So today is Friday, April 24th. We've got Alcaraz is out of the French Open, not playing Roland Garros. And I believe that's due to his wrist injury. Mm-hmm. And we have literally just seen 5 seconds ago, the Arkansas men's and women's tennis programs have been discontinued after this season. That's crazy.
That's actually insane. That is an
SEC
SEC Division I program.
Correct. That's insane. We've hit a tipping point, y'all. It's getting bad out here. It's getting bad out here. Concerning for sure. We don't know like all of the logistics behind what happened, why they've been cut. But yeah, it's not a great look. Not a great look for tennis programs in college.
You've been seeing like a bunch of different programs going down all across the country. Like Gardner Webb, I think, was one that's here in North Carolina that they announced
and
that
they were
cutting.
Pretty successful for their
they won their conference basically like every year and would make NCAAs.
How do you
I think they just won their tournament again and they're getting cut. And
so
a lot
sad.
of other schools as well, but Arkansas is a major one. Like
big school,
big program. They did well.
A lot of resources. Yeah.
Scary times out here for the smaller non-revenue generating sports. Like again, we don't really know what exactly went into that decision, but
right.
I think with a lot of the NIL changes in recent years and then some of the NCAA changes to things such as like rosters versus scholarships, the landscape is really changing a lot, and a lot more focus is going into the more revenue generating sports. And it's unfortunate to see the non-revenue generating sports that are just amazing for their schools getting hurt because of it.
Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out, and all the best to Alcaraz. That really blows, especially for like him, but also like spectators that want to watch him. That definitely, everyone wants to see a Sinner Alcaraz final. That's always the
rematch,
the go-to now. But hey, now it's a little bit open, a little more slightly open. But we'll see if Sinner, takes advantage,
or someone else.
I mean, he already has.
When was the last time someone won a slam other than those two on the men's side? Djokovic, probably.
It was Djokovic, U.S. Open 2023.
2023.
So the last 7 consecutive Grand Slams were split between Sinner and Alcaraz.
Wow.
Which is pretty much dominating right now.
Yeah.
And you can see it on the points.
Yeah.
You can see it.
There was some sort of stat where it was like the number, you're closer to being number 3 in the world than the number 3 in the world is to being
number 1.
Number 2.
Or number 2, yeah. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah. Like
that's actually nuts.
That is bizarre. But yeah, all the best to Alcaraz. And super sad to hear about Arkansas. I'm sure the players who aren't graduating this year will be able to find great schools to transfer to, because I'm assuming they'll enter the transfer portal, but it's really sad to see.
Yeah, it sucks. On a more, not really happier, but just neutral note, we saw that the individual NCAAs is going to be permanently moved to the fall season. So, they had that pilot program to kind of see if people liked it or not, and looks like they did.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of like mixed reactions to this online that I've seen. Some people think that it's really, really good. And then some people are like, this is horrible. Why would you effectively make NCAAs 2 seasons for tennis? And I mean, tennis was already 2 seasons. Like, let's be honest.
Let's not get it twisted.
There was a fall and a spring season. I think I personally think if people like it and if it's, keeping a higher level of competition in NCAAs, because one of the big reasons that they cited for moving from spring to fall was the individual championships were always right after the team championships,
Mm-hmm.
after players had played for like, I don't know, a week and a half straight. And you
Yeah.
ended up getting a lot of last minute withdrawals because players' bodies were just so beat down.
Right.
So now this kind of ensures that the best players are more fresh and healthy to play because it's
Right.
not right after the team championships. And I think obviously part of it is also they're trying to encourage the good players to stay and play in college in the fall because there was a lot of players going to play pro in the
Mm-hmm.
fall. Um, but yeah, lots of mixed reactions.
Yeah, it is interesting as well because we've talked a little bit about this, but I think it puts even more pressure for the summer like season, not like college season, but just, to be able to keep playing and
Yeah.
you kind of have to now. Like now it's not really like oh, well, I could go play this tournament or maybe not,
Yeah.
like now it's like, no, you need to get ready for the fall or else you're going to be behind everyone. And it's the same with like incoming freshmen. It's like you need to get ready because you're pretty much getting thrown right into it now. Like there's not really as much of a grace period. So that might be why some people are a little bit iffy about it. But I think at the end of the day, like you're going to get better matches out of big players because they are going to be fresh compared to what it was before. I can't imagine like playing in the team championships and then go straight into the individuals.
No,
Like
I can't
you're
imagine.
dead. You're dead
Imagine
by
like
the
you
end of
make it
that.
to the finals
Yeah.
and then so the finals I think is on a Sunday and then individuals start on Monday. I'm
Mm.
sure they gave people like a day break or something, so maybe they
Yeah.
moved it to Tuesday. But yeah, I
Yeah.
can I can understand why so many people would pull out of individuals because
Yeah.
for most people, I would say like the team championship is the priority. Like if you were to ask,
Hmm.
would you rather win individual NCAAs or team? I
Right.
would say about 95% of people would say team. So
I agree. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So that'll be interesting, but see how that plays out. We've also got the NFL draft going on. And I just want to say, like, nice guys don't finish last.
They
Shout out
don't.
Fernando Mendoza. Like, I love seeing that. That is so, like, it's just refreshing. Like, it's
Mhm.
really refreshing to see someone, we've talked about like confidence versus arrogance.
Yes.
And
And
I
he
think
does
he's
a
just
very good job
yeah,
of being confident and not arrogant. Like he's
yeah,
confident, but he's humble. Going
yeah.
first overall to the Raiders. Um, Huge congratulations.
I know. I hope he does well. He's so sweet with like his mom and everything and his
Yeah.
family. So it's really good to see. But I did like a deep dive since the draft is going on right now. And I was just really curious because, we're talking about recruiting and all of that in this episode. And so I wanted to see like, okay, what goes into, how people are going to make their picks? Like, how does a team go about that? You hear about the combine and all of that. And so, but I was really fascinated by the interview part because it's almost like a literal job interview. Like that's what you're doing. And so there's like specific parts of it that I read in like an ESPN article that was talking about what types of questions they ask and what answers that they've gotten, like, what the normal ones are versus the crazy ones. And so, like the normal questions will be like just about their background and like how they grew up, like what teams they played for in football and everything like that. But then they'll ask like behavioral questions, like a literal job interview. And it's like,
Mm.
who do you call on a bad day? And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, I would call my mom.
I would also probably call my mom, or
Yeah.
I would call no one and wallow in my sorrow.
That's probably not the right answer on you.
Well, there's a reason I'm not in the NFL draft right now, Peyton. I don't know if you've noticed. It's because I don't have good answers to the behavioral interview questions.
Hey, that's why you're in the corporate world, though. You know the
Mm.
answers to those questions.
That's true.
And then I think another one was like, what is one thing you would change about yourself? That's a tough one because, like, you don't want to give like a crazy weakness. You know what I mean? Like,
I think procrastination is always a good one.
yeah.
Well,
Is that too like mainstream though?
I don't know.
We'd be more
What would you
prepared if we were
change
actually
about
going into
yourself?
the draft.
Maybe you would just say something along the lines of like, I wish I was more of a morning person or something. I don't know. Like something very benign
Then
like
they're like
that.
worried
Yeah.
about, are you going to be late to
I
training?
know.
Like,
What would you say?
I feel like there's almost not really like right or wrong answers. It's more so like
How
how
you
you
frame it.
answer it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what's your attitude about it? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I mean, it's like the question you get in the corporate world on an interview. It's the same thing of like, what's your biggest weakness? And it's like you're not supposed to
yeah,
actually say what your biggest weakness is. You're supposed
yeah,
to like frame it in a way. I remember one time I answered something like, I just really pay attention to detail too much. And like I framed it in the way of like I get so bogged down by the details that sometimes I spend too much time doing something versus like I almost let like great get in the way of good and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
not like I waste too much time on like a small little thing, but it's like
Yeah.
framing in a way of like I'm so dedicated and I'm so detail oriented.
Yeah.
They liked that
That's great.
answer when I said it, so you guys can
Great
steal
way to
that one
put
if
it.
you want.
Great way to put it. But no, they also talked about like the red flags, like the biggest red flag that they like constantly talked about was the fact that if, for example, they're in their interview and they're showing film and you have to go through like certain plays and, pick out different things. And like the biggest red flag was people pointing out other people's mistakes, and they
Mm,
hated that. That was like the big no-no. And they were like, no, like you need to be accountable and you need to show that like you can be a leader and fix whatever situation is going on, not blame it on other people. So I thought that was really
yeah.
interesting. And I think a lot of people can take that into, pretty much every aspect of their life. But
Oh, for sure.
um, yeah, but it was also, they were talking about like the craziest like things that have actually happened. And I forget what team it was, but they had like just hired a new head coach. And so like the first question they asked was like, who's our head coach for that one team? Multiple players got it wrong.
No. I mean, that's
Like, guys, let's
hard
do
if
our
they just hired
research.
him,
Yeah.
but still, you should do your research. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Mm.
it's also like they have to be ready for like multiple teams, talking
Oh,
to
yeah.
multiple teams. So it is kind of hard to keep up with that. But at the same time,
But
like,
also, like, if it's your whole life and you're so
yeah,
ingrained in the football world, and I'm
you
assuming
should
you
probably
watch
know it.
football and you keep up with news,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you'd probably know. Unless it literally had happened like maybe 5 minutes before the interview and they weren't on
Yeah.
their phone, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Another crazy part was, and another red flag that they talked about was like just people like lying about certain things. So like if they were involved with something that happened outside of like actual football, they
mm,
would know. Like every team knows because they have their own security department that like investigates the prospects. So like they know if you're lying or not about certain
yeah.
if you're involved in like, I don't know, some sort of scandal or something and you lie about it. It's like, no, we know. We're just waiting to see like how you respond to that.
Mhm.
So I
I
don't
mean,
know. It'd
it's
be pretty
literally
crazy.
it's just like a regular job interview. Like you get a
Yeah.
background check when you apply for a job or
Yeah,
when you
exactly.
accept a job. They fingerprint you, they run a background check on you. They ask you all
100%.
these different questions on the applications. Same
Yep.
thing.
100%. But yeah, it's not all just about, the combine and the physical traits and things like that's obviously like majority of what they're looking at. But at the same time, they've talked about how the interview has gotten much more in depth
Mhm.
on, questioning the players. And it's not just like, oh, like, how'd you get into football? You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
just like the basic questions anymore. It's like, okay, no, you need to know your stuff.
And you need to be a fit for this team.
Yeah.
That's
And you
basically what they're
like
trying to
a
get to.
good,
Mhm.
good attitude, show that you can be a leader, things like that. But yeah, I think that's pretty important, especially when we're talking about recruitment and transfer portals and all of that fun stuff, which we're getting into. But yeah, it's an exciting time. It can be crazy, but it's fun for the
It's
most
really
part.
chaotic. It's really
Mhm.
chaotic. It can cause a lot of like stress and confusion. It can be a really tough time in especially a young person's life to make some
Yeah.
difficult decisions. you can feel a lot of like increased pressure from competition, but it's fun too. It's like you were saying, it's exciting. Like it's your future basically, right? So it's exciting and it's scary and it's stressful. And the reason we wanted to talk about it today is just to shed some more light so people kind of have a better understanding of what they're walking into if this is their first time getting recruited through athletics, or they're in the transfer portal but they wanted to hear some more refreshers about things. So we'll kind of dive into what actually matters versus what people stress about, some mistakes maybe that you'll see some people make early on, especially in the recruiting process.
Oh yeah.
um, and also some of the behind the scenes realities, some like of the funny stories, some of the real stories. Should be a really fun episode for you guys. But I think one of the first things that we wanted to start off with is just kind of going through and explaining even what recruiting is, right? What does the process look like? So very basically, recruiting is where college coaches identify, evaluate, and then they select high school players or transfer athletes if they're in the transfer portal to join their teams. I would say most typically this is for a scholarship, but not all the time. So basically, just how do you go if you're a high school or junior player? How do you go from high school and junior to being a college athlete? That's the whole gist of it.
I forget what episode we talked about it in, but again, every person that's a part of a team is important. Like, again, a walk-on is not just like sitting around doing nothing. Like
No.
they're practicing with you, they're going to every match. Like that's just how it is. And
Well,
yeah, I think
walk-ons
it's
a lot of the
also,
time like earn their spot in the lineup
no,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. The whole goal is to work your way into a scholarship. And we've seen a lot of people do that and turn into really, really good players. And also I think it's important to note quickly, like, make sure whatever sport that you're in, make sure you know the rules of, when you can reach out to coaches, when coaches can reach out to you, when you can sign, when you can like post that you've committed, things like that, because it is different for every single sport. So that's always something to keep in mind. And yeah, like the sports kind of vary a lot in college. Like not only the actual timing of the recruiting process, but also like scholarship limits and things like that, which in turn also kind of affect the other sports that are in the college too. So like, for example, if you have football, you get 105 scholarships. You know what I mean? It's a massive team. It's a massive team. So like the fact that you're getting that many scholarships is wild. And that's why some other sports, don't get quite as many scholarships as they think they should. Baseball has up to 34 scholarships. They have pretty decently sized rosters as well. Men's and women's tennis is only 10 scholarships. Was originally 8, now it's up to 10. So it is interesting, like, your scholarships, the number of scholarships is going to vary greatly depending on how big or how small your team is. So that's always something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. And I think something that's important to mention here is these increased scholarship numbers that we just talked about. I think they're new as of 2025, 2026 seasons. So there was some NCAA rule that went into effect this year that changed. It used to be a scholarship limit, and now it's a roster limit. So that's why these scholarships increased, because there's no limit on the amount of scholarships that you can have, but the roster is what's limiting now. And so I think now that they have, this is just my thought, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but now that they have increased scholarship numbers, that doesn't mean it's full scholarship numbers. It just means this many people on the team can have scholarships, whether that's partial or full. So I'm curious to see how that plays out with just how schools offer those financial scholarships to athletes. Because again, before in men's and women's tennis, it used to be 8 scholarships. And that's normally you would just have like the 8 full scholarships, or I think men's might have split theirs up partially. But now we have 10 scholarships, but I don't think they have to be full scholarships if you don't want them to be.
Right.
I think women's sports have also seen just like a big growth in recruiting and visibility and investment, um, just because of their increased media exposure and more NIL opportunities. So that's been great to see. But again, we also
Hmm.
are seeing, like we talked about earlier in this episode, of some women's sports are getting cut, specifically like tennis.
Yeah,
So
it's not
it's a
great.
give and take, and it'll be interesting to see how the landscape of NIL and NCAA evolves in the next 5 to 10 years. It could be totally different within 5 years.
Yeah, because I rarely see tennis players with NIL deals. Like, I'll
Yeah.
see it, and I feel like it's more prevalent on the women's side just based on what I've seen. Um, but at the same time, like, that's a pretty small number compared to like getting a whole team cut from existing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you got to kind of weigh the pros and cons here.
Going back to the Gardner Webb school like tennis team cutting.
Yeah,
I don't know if you read that statement or not, but they cut the men's and women's tennis programs so that they could get a women's flag football
flag
team.
football. Hmm. Yeah, that's correct. I
Nothing
am
against
not
flag
sure.
football,
Yeah,
but
fully. I I just, it
like
just
if it
doesn't,
was
it
for
doesn't make
revenue
sense.
purposes, like I personally have never. This is the first time I'm hearing of a collegiate women's flag football Division 1
Same,
team.
same.
Um, I don't know how much revenue they bring in or are going to bring in. That decision just doesn't seem to make sense for me. That's all I'm saying.
Especially when you have such a successful program. Like,
Yeah.
what? Anyways, yeah, I don't really understand that at all. Yeah, it is. I mean, looking back to when we were kind of in our recruiting days, it very much is like a two-way street recruiting because
Mhm.
on one hand, you are being evaluated by coaches, but at the same time, you want to be evaluating them and their program and their school. And it's not just like you're the only one getting criticized in this process. You know what I
Right.
mean? So there is some pressure on both sides. And I hope people kind of realize that, like, you don't have to feel like you're a smaller person during that process just because they're kind of at a place of authority. It's like, no, like, you want to get to know them and see if that program is actually right for you.
Yeah, I
You
feel
know?
like I've seen and I've even like probably felt that pressure when I was going through the process as well, but I feel like I've seen so many players just kind of get so hung up on the name of the school, or it's been
Mhm.
their dream school ever since they were 6 years old to go to, and then they kind of commit early. They jump the gun if they get an offer. They commit early, and it's
Yes.
not the best. It ends up not being the best fit for them.
Yep.
So I think one of the big pieces that we're going to talk about is like don't jump the gun. Don't get so hung up in like the name or the prestige or what you think it is in your
Yeah.
head. Like really actually evaluate, is this private versus public? You have to make that decision. Do you want private school, public school? Do you want big school, small school?
Mhm.
Do you want more academically focused? How do you want your social life to look like? What do you want to
Mhm.
do after, if you already know? Like, is there something you want to do after college? Like, if you want to go to med school, maybe you want to go to a good pre-med,
Yeah.
place, things like that.
Mhm.
It's all these things that you really just need to take the time to think about and see if you just feel that click and that fit, and you could see yourself being there rather than being like, oh well, it's blah 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 school, like that's so prestigious.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you didn't have the best visit. Maybe you're not even going to play in the that's another thing. Do you want to play in the lineup? Do you not?
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Yeah, it is a balance, and I knew a couple players that committed literally, or like verbally committed, probably their sophomore year in high school, and I was like, I remembered I saw that and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm
yeah.
so far behind. Like, what am I
Yes.
doing?" And I started freaking out. But now I'm looking back and I'm like, "No, no, like that wasn't really like the norm."
Mm-mm.
And it's not like you have to rush the process. And again, it was because that was like a big name school. And so it was like this huge thing. And then they didn't actually end up going to that school. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like, that
You
does
do see
happen a
that a
lot.
lot too. Like people
Yeah.
commit super early. I've even seen like freshman year commits where
Yeah.
these coaches are really trying to get these like superstars locked down, and then there's like 4 years until they go to college. So either their level drops off, the coaches
Yeah.
can decommit you. A verbal
Oh,
commitment means nothing. So,
so many things can change during that time.
yeah.
Like a coach can leave,
Yep.
like what that recruited you.
Yeah. So I want to take a quick step back to kind of talk through what the recruiting process actually looks like, because I know we keep throwing around like verbal commitment, things like that. So recruiting isn't just like getting an offer and signing that piece of paper saying that you are going to this school next year, right? There's
Right.
a whole like process that goes through it. So like you can classify it into like, I don't know, like discovery. So coaches find you whatever tournaments, showcases. Some players send film to the coaches. Coaches are looking at like rankings, referrals from other coaches, things like that. And then if they're interested, they'll go and evaluate your skill level, your consistency, your athleticism, uh, your attitude, and your coachability, which we'll talk about a lot. And again, if they're interested, even the slightest bit, you'll get into that communication phase once it is allowable per sport rules, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
again, we said there's different time periods. I think now for tennis, they're allowed to reach out to you starting June 1st of your
Mm-hmm.
sophomore year. It used to be
Is it
September of
sophomore
our,
year now?
yeah. So
Holy
end
cow.
end of your sophomore year. So I think they just
Yeah, yeah,
moved
yeah,
it
yeah.
a few months before, because for us it used to be September of our junior year. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
they moved
Okay,
it to
yeah.
before the summer. Emails, calls, maybe you'll even get invited to some unofficial campus visits, although now they can also do official visits as well during junior year, I believe. Official visits used to only be allowed during senior year for tennis.
Mm-hmm.
There's a maximum amount of official visits I think you can take. That an official visits is basically everything gets paid for. Unofficial is you
Yeah.
come on your own dime.
Yeah.
And then you get to the stage where you have to make some decisions, you get some offers. So a lot of stuff goes into those offers and decisions as well. You got to think about, are you getting offered a scholarship? Is that scholarship full or partial? What are the roster spots looking like? Sometimes you get offered, but they say we don't have a spot for next year. You're going to have to take a gap year and come the
Mm-hmm.
following year. That's kind of like what Alex had talked about with his situation with Wake.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting offered a scholarship, but this is a school that you really want to go to, are there any walk-on opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can only officially commit, I think, your senior year. But
Yep.
before that, like we've thrown around a few times, there's a verbal commitment, right? So Peyton and I, we committed to Wake Forest our junior year, verbally committed. So
Mm-hmm.
we basically told the coaches offered us spots, and we said, okay, yes, we are verbally
Mm-hmm.
committed to go here. It's just giving your word. Honestly, like we said, like your word means something, but it's not like you put pen to paper. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
like they can
Yeah.
back out, you can back out if you need to. But
Yep.
it's kind of saying like this is my intent. It's almost like a promise ring compared to an engagement ring. Like I don't know how to talk about it.
Wait, that's actually a great way to put it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, no, it's also funny because I remember having to, like, once I verbally committed to Wake, actually, no, it was before I actually verbally committed. You have to call like every other school that you talk to and say like, "Hey, I'm not coming to your
yeah,
school or your program."
yep.
I was sweating when I made those calls because I felt so bad because I really did like a lot of the coaches and the schools that I was talking to, and I was like, I do not want to have this conversation. Like, I have
Especially as a
no desire.
16-year-old. No,
Oh
thank
my
you.
god. Oh my god. But then like the call where you say like you are verbally committing is always great, obviously, and they're really excited. Yeah, God, I hated making the, yeah, I'm not coming. Thanks for
Yeah.
all the, time and money you invested in me, but
Yeah. See
and
ya.
then you play against them and it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
The worst is when you play against them and you turn them down and you lose. That's
Yeah, that's got to be
But
the
it happens.
worst.
Like, it's hard.
It happens, but that's got to be the worst. And then I also remember, like you said, our date was usually in September for when coaches could start like calling you. I vividly remember the day that coaches were allowed to call me because like everyone was just like, all right, you ready? Like tomorrow you're going to get some phone calls. And it literally was that.
Yeah.
I was like, how do these people get my number? I'm like,
Yes. That was the thing. And I just had so many calls. I had a lot of emails too. It just started flooding
yeah,
the inbox. And you're
yeah,
just like,
which
"Oh
is
my
cool.
god."
Like
Yeah.
you feel kind of like wanted, which is
Mhm.
nice. And I always found it really funny when you'd get things in the mail from schools and it would vary depending on the school. Like I remember getting either like surveys where I literally would fill in my information and then send it back and I'm like this is weird.
I
And
don't think
then
I ever
other
did that.
schools, yeah, it was weird. And then other schools would literally send like handwritten notes. And I'm like, I
Yes.
much prefer the handwritten note than me giving you all my information to then maybe you contact me. I don't know. Like that felt really impersonal to me.
Y
It was
Yup.
weird. I was like, am I just like on your list? Like what to just reach out and say, hey, maybe you because it was always like a big school.
Yeah.
I was like, are you just like lining people up or like what's going on here? So
There de
that was
I feel like there
always
definitely
weird.
were schools that did do that, like,
Uh-huh.
just mass email, mass send out communications
Yeah.
to people and just see kind of what fits.
Yeah. It was funny.
Peyton and I, we did kind of commit rather quickly, I would say. Like, we committed what, like, November of our junior year?
I
So
think I was
3
December, actually.
okay, I think I was, like that's probably, like, November 30th, so basically December.
Yeah, same.
Um, so basically 3 months of recruiting, and we both committed, to Wake Forest, verbally committed. Thankfully, it ended up working out, but I wanted to ask you, so you already mentioned, like, you saw a girl posting that she was already committed in sophomore year. I just wanted to ask you, like, since we kind of committed relatively early on in the recruiting process, about 3 months in, did you feel a pressure? Did you feel like you were falling behind? Did you feel like you wanted to make a decision sooner rather than later?
Yeah, it was tough because, again, in an age of social media, it's like you're scrolling on Instagram and you're seeing everyone's like, oh, I committed here. Oh, can't wait to
Mhm.
go here. And I feel like it does kind of add a little bit of pressure, but I don't feel like I necessarily rushed the decision. Like I went on a lot of visits. I talked to a lot of different coaches, a lot of different programs. I wish I had talked to more. I feel like I did not like use all my resources that I could have used. I mean, there's so many different colleges in so many different locations and cities that would have been great to explore. So I do wish I would have talked to more schools than I did probably. Even though I did talk to quite a few, which it becomes a lot once you're trying to juggle like 6 different schools that you're talking that could be like, on the top of your list. So I think that is a bit of a balance that you do kind of have to pick and choose like, okay, who's going to be like my priority
Right.
versus who's going to be a little bit lower on the totem pole.
People have different timelines. The
Yeah.
timelines vary across sports, and there were a lot of people who were still getting recruited their senior years. They hadn't committed yet. Um,
Yeah.
so I think like I also felt I was like, oh man, I should probably make a decision sooner rather than later. Because you're also
Mhm.
afraid of like taking too long to make a decision if you have an offer and then the coach is moving on to a different person.
Mhm. They're like,
Um,
"Hello."
yeah. But I mean, I don't like regret committing so early. But like same thing, I feel like I didn't look at enough schools just to like get an
Yeah.
experience of like, oh, what is it like on the West Coast? What is it like in the
Right, right,
Northeast?
right.
Like I had an
Right.
idea of what I wanted, which was like wanted to go a little bit further away from home, didn't want to be that far away from home on the West Coast, but like I never
Yeah.
visited those schools. So I didn't know
Yeah.
like what it would have
No, I
been
didn't
like.
either.
Yeah.
No, Anya, you're gonna laugh at this, but going into like my recruiting year, I was like, I want to be far away from home. I want to go to a really big school. Guys, I ended up at Wake Forest, 20 minutes from my parents' house, and one of the smaller schools, I would say. It's like what? I don't even know what it is. Is it
5,000 undergrad,
5,000 people,
like
maybe 6,000?
8,000 total undergrad
8,000
plus grad
total.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That sounds right. I think it's
Yeah.
like almost half the population is athletes.
Yeah.
And I ended up there, so it's like,
Hey, we
don't.
had lovely dinners at Peyton's house like all the time. It was great for me.
It honestly, it worked out so well because it was so nice being close to my parents, like being able to have the team over and things like that. And I feel like that actually like made us closer too.
Yeah.
And also it was better because now I'm living so far away from home that I'm glad I did have that time, because that would really have been hard to actually move away after
Yeah.
college after not being there. So
Yeah.
it worked out in the end.
Yeah. But yeah,
But
that's
you
really
might
funny.
have to you might have to just change your outlook, your expectations. Once you go on visits and things like that, you're going to understand what you like and don't like at that point.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and it's always kind of fun to figure that out. But yeah, I thought that was
No, that's hilarious.
always funny to look back.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think like other than don't like compare your path to others, another thing that I would say is like be realistic with yourself about your goals. Like only, again, we've said it in the past, but only about like 6 to 7% of high school athletes end up playing in college, and then what was it, like 2% of college athletes go pro or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you think about it, like a typical high school might have, I don't know, depending on what team you're on, 20, 30 to even 60 athletes per team, like track and field. Remember, my school had a massive like cross country track and field team.
Yeah.
A typical college roster might have 8 to 35 spots depending on the team. Again, unless it's football, which is like 105.
The outlier.
Yeah. And you got to remember that those spots only open up as seniors graduate, right? So like you got hundreds of athletes competing for a handful of openings each year per program.
I also think it's very important now that I've like kind of see it happening, and you showed me this post the other day, but everyone's complaining about all of the international athletes that are coming over to the US and taking the US athletes' spots. And everyone's like going back and forth, and it's like, actually this could just be kind of a development problem in the US rather than like a recruiting problem. So I don't know, there's a couple sides to it.
So the post that I saw the other day was basically someone saying like, it was the SEC finals on the men's side. Out of the 12 people playing, one of them was American or something like that. And people were complaining like, oh man, see all these teams just going out to recruit the best players internationally because all they care about is winning. Okay. It's kind of their job to win. And if they can't find the good enough talent at home in the US, like, I don't know.
I also get it, like from the US perspective, like you would rather coaches look more at homegrown athletes first and then go international. Whereas I do feel like right now it is more of a trend to just literally start international and get people over here. So there is kind of like a two sides to it for sure. But I mean, it is very attractive to go to the US universities. Like they put so many resources into sport. And so you can get a really good education and also, develop as an athlete as well. So I do understand why international players want to go over there. But I think when you are being recruited as, an international athlete, it's very important to understand what you're actually getting into before you commit to a program.
Right.
Like know the differences between, certain schools, different coaches, locations, like what are the commitments that you're going to have to make. And, like you said before, it's not just about the sport, right? Like your education needs to align with what you want to do later on after your sport is done. So, and that could also be different for international athletes, because if they're, for example, going back to, their home country after college, there are a lot of discrepancies between, US jobs versus jobs outside of the US. Like, for example, like I, at one point, wanted to go to PA school, so physician assistant school. And so that's huge in the US now, but outside of the US, like in Europe and the UK and everything like that, they don't really have physician assistants. So like you need to understand that the path that you're taking as an international athlete actually makes sense for you once you are done being, an athlete, competitively. So I think that's definitely something to consider as you are getting recruited and as you
Yeah.
are evaluating all of these schools.
Yeah, for sure. And then kind of also just like some of the more softer things, not softer, but like less technical things, but you got to think about, especially if you're coming from overseas, like really far away, homesickness. You're not going to be able to go home a lot.
Yeah.
Cultural differences. You're gonna have to adapt to some of the cultural things here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And with that comes language barriers. If you don't speak English very well, that'll
Hmm.
especially be difficult your freshman and maybe your sophomore year to try to like pick up that language. I do know that to come to school in the US, like international athletes do have to take that I forget what it's
Yeah.
called, something with a T maybe. That
You have
test
to
that's
pass the
basically
test.
yeah, like
Hmm.
shows that you're like proficient enough to
Right.
survive in
Yeah.
English. But yeah, you're just gonna have to understand that these are some of the things that you're gonna struggle with and
Hmm.
um again, you're going to have to adapt to some of the cultural differences and also help your teammates and your coaches become educated on some of the cultural differences in your like where you're from as well, right? So that they
Hmm.
can better understand you and you can bond a little bit better with your team as well.
But also, I feel like it's important for coaches, especially, like, to make sure that they put an effort to actually learn about that person's culture. I mean, again, there are some massive teams, so it's hard to spend a lot of time with one person, but if you're in like a smaller team and you have the ability to like learn more about a culture and how you can kind of help them almost adapt a little bit into your culture, like I think that would be really helpful. And I think also I've heard of a lot of mental performance coaches and sports psychologists. They'll do sort of a team bonding exercise where, and it'll be like probably at the beginning of a season, but you do some sort of activity where you actually learn more about each other's culture.
Oh, I like
And,
that.
there's a lot of teams that have, again, now it's very common to have multiple international athletes from all over the place. So I always think that would be really fun. It's kind of like your little snack thing, like
Yeah.
getting on the bus and sharing your favorite snack. Like you could, talk about certain things in your culture. So it's kind of similar along those lines. But I think it is crazy because there are some international athletes that legitimately just commit and they don't really know a lot about a school. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's a dangerous game, y'all. That is a
Mhm.
dangerous. You're living there for the next 4 years, technically. You can transfer, but you know, I think especially with technology now, a lot of schools have begun to do like really detailed virtual tours of the actual school and they'll, take them around the campus and the location and everything. So I think that's good, but I really just don't think it's the same, which it's hard. Like some people literally cannot
Yeah.
like go all the way over there. Like it's expensive and so it is hard for them and I think it's even harder when they actually get to the university. It's like I was reading a study like they're normally super excited to, start playing and be in an NCAA program, but then like reality hits a little bit and it's like, ooh, that homesickness is, hitting and your cultural differences are really showing now and it's like that's tough to deal with. So I think it's really important to just have a support system at that point, and whether that's through like just video chats and things like that, but just making sure that your player has that support system during that time is huge. That was a lot of fun talking about, our own recruiting stories. Again, there's no single right path to getting recruited. Everyone does it differently and everyone's going to have a different experience. Don't get too focused on other people's experiences, especially with social media nowadays. There's no need to rush the process. Don't feel like you're behind and have fun with it. Like being recruited is fun, going on visits is fun, and it's a long game, but at the end of the day, it's something that you need to go through and it's leading to something great. And yeah, if you guys have any recruiting stories or have any questions for us or want to hear about a little bit more about our times during recruiting and our visits and things like that, or if you have any questions about how to choose a school or what are red flags that you're looking for when you're looking at a school, feel free to shoot us a DM. We're happy to have a chat. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.